Desperation setting in for the Harris-Walz campaign, of course. Department of Justice trying to cheat in election in Virginia. Walgreens to close a bunch of stores while CVS announces layoffs. This is Dr. David D. Shine for this special episode of Saving America with our weekly update. Now for the stories. White House denies Biden is sabotaging Harris campaign. Multiple news sources, including some of the slopstream media, have carried this fascinating story. So the idea is that Biden, of course, is not happy about being dumped. It's hard for him to have a happy face when he is ignored in most cases today. Even though Harris has foolishly admitted in a couple recent interviews that she would change none of Biden's decisions, she is also trying not to be Biden light. So when Biden is fully on board with everything during his administration, she ends up in a very difficult position. Commentators have noticed Biden wearing a Trump a MAGA hat and praising how well GOP Florida Governor DeSantis has handled the hurricane recoveries. Recently, of course, DeSantis spoke with Biden, but not Harris, regarding the preparations and the recovery for Hurricane Milton. Some quotes from the campaign trail are indeed illuminating. Jason Meister, a Republican political strategist for the Trump campaign, claimed that Biden is intentionally enacting revenge on Harris for knifing him in the back. Folks, I just love this kind of story. Hank Sheinkoff, a veteran Democrat strategist, said Biden is refusing to embrace Harris's campaign because he wants people to understand who is still the boss. As the so-called honeymoon for Harris is over, the polls are beginning to look much better for former President Trump. I watched the new political video featuring men declaring that they are man enough to support Vice President Kamala Harris. Folks, I can't make this stuff up. The video is so silly that people laugh at it, not being impacted by it at all. It's not helping, folks. Speaking of not being mocked, it's pretty bad when the far left Saturday Night Live, now known as SNL, does a skit on the campaign. It features a fake Harris and a fake Walz being just as stupid as they have been on the campaign trail. They specifically targeted her mindless, coming from a middle-class family, claim that is falling on very deaf ears. It didn't work the first time. It hasn't worked on the 15th time. In the meantime, millionaire for no apparent reason, former President Obama went out on the trail to stump for her. His demeaning remarks designed to change the minds of many Black men who are supporting Trump. Clearly, it's a loser strategy. Flying in from your mansion in Martha's Vineyard or your vacation home in Hawaii is not going to make much of an impression on hardworking Americans of either gender or any color. But Harris continues to be her own worst enemy. The more visible she is, the more the poll numbers sink, and that is justified. She is just a terrible candidate. So in an effort to get Black male votes for herself, she is pitching a special loan program for Black entrepreneurs. Of course, this is illegal. Hey, Kamala, did you ever hear of the United States Constitution and equal treatment under the law? Yeah. So paired with this, she wants to legalize marijuana and tells her audience that they can get rich selling grass. This part is currently illegal on the federal level, and I find it demeaning to suggest that working people can't make money if they're not dealing drugs. Of course, one pundit noted that she locked up Black men in California for selling marijuana. College Republicans at ASU, Arizona State University, question legality of campaigns' access to student data and demand transparency from the school. In an incredible report, Arizona State University, a public university, apparently allowed Harris campaign to send a mass text to all 70,000 students, encouraging them to vote for her. The college Republicans have raised a protest, but now that the deed is done, there's not much that can be done about it. This does raise the issue about college students voting. Should they vote in their home districts and not the college location where they only live temporarily? How is the situation monitored so they do not vote in both places? Inquiring minds want to know. Department of Justice trying to cheat in election in Virginia. This is the case that has me screaming at the news reports on my car radio. Perhaps some of my audience join me in that exercise of free speech, perhaps with no one else in the car. In a widely reported scam, the Biden-Harris U.S. Justice Department, or should I say the Injustice Department, has sued the state of Virginia. What horrible crime did Virginia commit? Last year, according to GOP Virginia Governor Youngkin, Virginia removed 6,303 people from the voter rolls for not being legally able to vote. Well, in August, he told the Board of Election to make sure everyone on the rolls were eligible to vote. The numbers here are unclear. One report I found said Fairfax County, the largest county population in the state, had purged only 49 people. In any event, a bunch of pro-illegal outfits and the feds are suing VA, Virginia, for fear of depriving some of these illegals from voting. Okay, I can understand some of these fringe groups, but the feds using your tax dollars because a state government is preventing people from voting illegally. Come on, people. I sure hope the GOP takes over in January. I want a purge of the anti-American Department of Justice from the top to the bottom. I note the number of former Department of Justice folks being interviewed by the conservative media. This crash of this important agency is not like a car accident, but more like the sinking of the Titanic. Time to be for American justice and stop wasting the taxpayers' money on lawfare and this type of nonsense. It is simple. If any individual who's legally allowed to vote is cut off the voting rules, he or she can go to the local election judge and produce their paperwork. I'm sure they can cast a provisional ballot and then prove that the ballot can be processed. All of us are aware that there's unfortunately a continuing controversy of biological males playing in collegiate women's sports. The College Fix recently noted a series of deliberate defaults to the San Jose State women's volleyball team due to their having a male athlete. Well, it seems like that might not be a big deal, but if a big biological male smashes a volleyball at your daughter, you may be dealing with a concussion or worse. Idaho Governor Brad Little praised Boise State's decision to forfeit a game. He stated, "I applaud Boise State for working within the spirit of my executive order, the Defending Women's Sports Act. We need to ensure player safety for all of our female athletes and continue the fight for fairness in women's sports." So not every politician out there is a whack job. Switching to business, Walgreens is closing stores and CVS is laying off employees. Multiple sources are reporting on this serious business news. As a close observer of businesses around the US, I am not surprised at this news. I observe that there are simply a lot of Walgreens and CVS stores. It seems like they are everywhere. They seem to be overbuilt, and yes, it was not my imagination. Walgreens is closing 1,200 stores, and CVS is laying off 2,900 employees. First, part of this is due to changing consumer habits. Customers can get their prescriptions in many places, so they are not dependent on the old-fashioned drugstore. Online is obviously a major competitor all by itself. Second, they are not supported by secondary merchandise sales, since these stores usually are retail plus, with the exception of some weekly sale items. Third, not mentioned in all the news coverage, many markets, especially in California, have serious theft issues. For Walgreens, closing the uneconomic stores just makes sense. This is sad news for some customers who are dependent on a local drugstore. Online is nice, but things are not always delivered overnight. Note that a recent announcement by Target to close 9 stores involved theft issues. Many of the stores were in woke jurisdictions like California and New York. I suspect same issue with Walgreens. A great source for news with a special slant on what's really happening in China is NTD, just 3 letters. They have a free newsletter with a near daily comprehensive report. They just released an article covering a new documentary film called State Organs. It was made possible since a political prisoner in China somehow escaped to tell the story of how China is harvesting organs from people whose religion or other principles do not match the red China line. Sheng Paiming, first known survivor of forced organ harvesting, made an appearance at the initial screening of the 76-minute film. The producer was Raymond Zhang, and it was scored by composer Daryl Bennett. It tracks two families searching for their missing loved ones in Red China. It revealed state-sanctioned forced organ harvesting. It's hard to believe that this can happen in the year 2024. Sounds more like another Holocaust situation. A pitch was made in the article to support legislation like the Falun Gong Protection Act. I doubt any American waiting for a transplant, no matter how desperate, wants to know that that organ was harvested from a Chinese political prisoner. Baby born in parking lot of a Michigan microbrewery. The story has been picked up by various media sources. I referred to the local Kalamazoo newspaper for the best information. So Aaron Baker gets a call from his wife, Kyle, and says it's time to go to the hospital to deliver their third child. The first children came in a normal fashion, so he's not stressing it. Apparently underestimated the speed of numbers three's determination to arrive. Predictably, the little fellow was ready to charge out, and so Aaron calls 911 on he and his wife's way to the hospital, asks for the ambulance to meet them along the route. Well, 2 blocks ahead is the couple's favorite microbrewery, One Well Brewing. So he says, meet us in the parking lot at the brewery. Well, the little fellow had a different idea. He starts to pop out before they even get to the parking lot. Once they're in the parking lot, the dad jumps out of the driver's seat, runs around the passenger seat, and delivers the little fellow safely. Then the ambulance takes the baby and mom away, and they're fine. The brewery has a new blood orange brew, and it's naming it Special Delivery after the incident. When the baby, Forrest is his name, is old enough to drink, he's been awarded free beer for life by the brewery. This is Dr. David D. Shine for Saving America. Thanks for joining us, and please subscribe on your favorite platform.